All right, welcome Sue Tomte to the Northwestern Voices podcast. You're one of the few pioneers here. So,
well, thank you, Zach. What a pleasure to be here. And in fact, I brought you a gift.
Oh wow! Well,
and for our sound and technical people.
Oh, you got one for Caleb too?
Thank you.
Okay.
Well,
we're gonna open these gifts as we progress here. But thank you. I'll say thank you in advance. I don't know what it is, but I'll thank you. So I first met Sue when I moved to Park Rapids about 7 years through the Rotary Club. And Sue, you immediately stood out to me as a force in the community. So Sue's an active Rotarian. She serves as an ambassador at the Park Rapids Chamber of Commerce and on various other boards and committees around town. In her spare time, and I say that tongue-in-cheek, Sue is an accomplished independent sales director representing the Mary Kay brand. She's been awarded 14 different vehicles.
Cars, I've earned.
Yeah. It's enough to have your own junkyard, basically, at this point, for her accomplishments. And she hasn't bought a purse for 30 years. Okay. Well,
and do you know why that is, Zach?
Because you carry your stuff in a different kind of bag, or no?
Oh, no, because I earn them.
You earn them, okay.
I get them for free. They're fun. They're prizes.
Okay, and so Sue really believes in the Mary Kay brand and has been given national sales honors 20 times. And you're in the top 1% of Mary Kay, which is a good place to be. So we're hoping to talk a little bit later about sales in general and Mary Kay and things like that. But you also love to teach and mentor women and to step into their best life, whatever that means, through coaching, encouraging and supporting them. But there's more, because Sue Tomte is also a 2-time graduate of the University of Minnesota.
Yes.
And she holds both bachelor's and master's degrees in aerospace engineering, and therefore is quite literally a rocket scientist. So, welcome, Sue Tomte.
Well, thank you.
So, Sue, I want to start kind of at the beginning. Where did you grow up?
You know, I grew up in the Twin Cities, but actually, when I was 3 months old, my family moved to Damascus, Syria. So I actually grew up overseas.
Wow. Damascus, Syria.
Yes, till I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So I went through grade school with English. No English in grade school. I had French and Arabic.
And do you still speak those languages today?
I can understand a little bit if you're talking about food.
Okay. So we were just in church today and wondering about the road to Damascus. This is something I didn't even know that you had lived in Damascus. Have you ever been on any? Is there any kind of a site or anything like that where they say this is where the conversion of Paul took place or anything like that?
Well, I'm sure there is. However, I left there when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So it's been a little while. Okay.
And then you say you moved to the Twin Cities.
Yes.
So Damascus, Syria down to Twin Cities area.
Exactly.
All right. And you went through school down there. Mm-hmm. Where did you graduate from high school?
Edina.
Edina. Okay. Wow. Very good.
Cake eater.
I wasn't gonna say it, but you did, so that's fine. A lot of good people that went to Edina, and the Hornets are known for their hockey team.
That's exactly right.
And how did they do when you were there?
They did great.
Did they?
Yes.
Was Willard Eichela still the coach?
Yes.
There? He was.
Yes.
He must have been. Well, I mean, I guess he won more championships, I think, than any other coach in the history of the state of Minnesota for high school hockey, didn't he?
I think so. Yeah, he was awesome.
So maybe he won a state championship or two when you were there.
Exactly.
Did he?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And were you a fan in the stands?
Yes, I was part of the band, and so we always got to go to the games and the playoff games, and we had a great time.
Which instrument did you play?
I played the flute.
Okay. All right. Very good. Kind of hard to hear a flute in a band like that, though,
In a
isn't
pep
it?
band?
In a
Yeah.
pep band.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you get to the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities, I take it. And did you actually reside there in Dinkytown when you were there? Did you live in the dorms or?
No, no. I actually made the decision to go into aerospace engineering because I had a 3-month-old son and said, what's the fastest way that I can get through school and be guaranteed a job? And I said, I'm always good at math and science, and so let's do this engineering thing. So that was my rationale for going into engineering.
Yeah.
And I went through and was able to finish my bachelor's and my master's and got a great job and moved to California.
So did I hear that correctly? You said that you wanted to get through college quickly, so you chose engineering. Because I think most people when
Get through college and be guaranteed a job.
Okay, get through. Okay, all right. So you didn't do it faster, but you knew that you would have employment when you got out.
Exactly.
Wow, what a novel concept. Okay, so did you do all of your schoolwork? Kind of like you got 4 years in college and then 2 years right away, got your master's and then went to work?
Correct.
Okay, is that usually how that career track goes?
Well, it can. People vary. They do different things. And I got a master's of engineering, not a master's of science, and so it was only 1 year.
Oh, okay. What's the difference there?
More research, I think, towards your master's of science.
So then you moved to California.
I did.
All right. You and your son?
Son.
Okay. You moved to California, and I saw somewhere in I think it was your LinkedIn, that you worked for General Dynamics. Was that out there?
That's exactly right. Yep.
And it says that you worked on the Atlas, Alpha Centaur, and Shuttle Centaur programs.
Yes.
So
yes,
what were those?
Well, the Atlas Centaur program was a rocket. And as part of my job, I was part of the flight control and navigation systems for the flight data recording and analyzing how the flight went. And so as part of our job there, we got to go to launch support system. We got to go to the launches and participate in the data analysis and real time and see things as they were going on. Actually, we never did get to see it launch because we're in a bunker off to the side. So it was super interesting.
Was that in Houston then, or?
Nope. Went to Vandenberg Air Force Base and then actually to Kennedy Space Center.
Down in
Florida.
In Florida, okay. So we're talking about space shuttles. Okay, because you said rockets, but it's not just any rocket, right?
Well, the Atlas Centaur is a rocket.
Okay.
And then the Shuttle Centaur program was a shuttle program.
Okay, and so then you were down in Cape Canaveral.
Yep.
For this. So what was that experience like, being down there, and did you get to meet any astronauts or anything like that?
No, actually, we're all, we're the data nerds, so we're all in our different areas and didn't get to interact a whole lot with people. However, the drama of it was that we were flying to support a launch at Kennedy Space Center on the day that the Challenger blew up.
Oh.
So we were in mid-flight and continued on to continue on. We had a layover in Dallas, and that's when we heard that the shuttle didn't make it. And so we were told to continue our flight and go to Florida. And boy, was that a devastating time in Florida, because there was pieces of the shuttle coming up on the beaches. Wow. I mean, it was very dramatic, very sad.
It was a very somber mood probably when you got there.
Exactly.
Now, was that 1986?
That
was the Challenger, right?
Yes.
That we're talking about? Yeah. I just threw that number out just off the top of my head because I remember when I was in school, they actually they kind of the school I went to Congdon Park Elementary in Duluth, and they kind of made a big deal about it. They put
Oh yeah, because that was Krista McAuliffe.
McAuliffe. She was a school teacher.
Yes, and she was part of that, and it was a very dramatic time.
And they had it on television and everything, and I think we all watched the launch on live TV and everything like that, and that was sort of a watershed moment, really, for the U.S. space program.
For the space program, and that was one of the reasons I probably got out of my job at the space program and moved back home and worked for Honeywell.
Okay. So, before we get to Honeywell, do you still follow the space program today? I mean, do you have any interest in that or anything like that?
Well, of course, but at a much higher level and just as an interest, but not in depth.
Have you heard about these, recent like UFO sightings and the fact that they've had these congressional hearings on the U.S. government possessing alien technologies and things like that?
Well, let me tell you, there is a lot of technology out there, and there's so much information that who knows? Who knows?
Who knows where it came from even, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, so then when you finished up with working for General Dynamics, then you got a job at Honeywell, that's headquartered where?
Well, it's currently headquartered in Phoenix, but it was headquartered in Minneapolis, and I was at the Military Avionics Division.
And what did you do there?
And there I was part of a group that was part of the flight control and navigation. We helped design black boxes, and they had ring laser gyros in them and all kinds of interesting technologies, and I was part of the unmanned air vehicle systems, the UAVs, and now that's what the current drones are.
Yeah, so those are the precursor to that.
Yes, absolutely. We were part of the very first unmanned air vehicle testing and evaluation, and really figuring out how to make that technology smaller and smaller and smaller so that it could be used. We were doing GPS stuff before GPS. Anybody ever heard of GPS stood for Global Positioning Systems and satellites, and it's super interesting.
When you were working on these things, you were working on them for military application, but did you ever envision that there would come a day where there would just be these civilian applications for these technologies would be so prevalent?
Oh my gosh, no, because the costs were so astronomical way back then.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. It was just incredible how much anything cost. And to think that, everybody and their brother now has GPS on a phone, in a car, everywhere is just truly amazing.
Yeah. But of course, that all of that technology, it has to start somewhere.
Exactly.
And a lot of it, these technologies that we kind of all take for granted now actually probably started with the military application and things like that. Right?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
So
that's where a lot of the research dollars come.
Now, I noticed that you worked in you had two different positions at Honeywell. I think you started as a systems engineer, but then did you later transfer to a more of a business role?
Marketing, and business development and marketing.
Okay, and what was the thought behind that? Why did you switch over?
Well, part of it was the mentorship and the encouragement that I got from my peers, because I kind of liked people and wasn't too afraid of making presentations and doing a little bit more in that area, and so was mentored into moving into a marketing role.
You kind of had a knack for that, and they discovered you.
Something like that.
And you actually started your Mary Kay business while you were still at Honeywell.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right, very good. So now let's talk about Park Rapids.
Okay.
All right. So, my understanding is you moved here in 1996.
Correct.
Okay. Just seeking a better life, or?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Wanted to escape. I wanted to change things up. So, yes, I did come up here.
Okay, so now because you know so much about Park Rapids and the community and everything like that, I'm going to ask you some sort of very basic questions about Park Rapids and
Oh, I
see
hope
what you
I
can
pass.
tell
I
me.
hope I pass.
Okay, well, I'll ask you this one first. Where is Park Rapids?
Well, Park Rapids is just south of the headwaters of the Mississippi.
Okay.
And so the headwaters of the Mississippi is known to everyone worldwide as a famous location. And so we are 22 miles south of that. So that's one way to look at Park Rapids. Otherwise, we're just about smack dab in the center east-west of Minnesota. And what else?
About an hour and a half from
3
Fargo.
hours north of the cities, an hour and a half from Fargo, 3 hours from Duluth. There you go.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give you credit for that one. So then here's the next one. How many people live in the area?
Oh, that is such a good question, because the population of the city of Park Rapids is right around 3,000. However, if you look at our general area and include some of the lakes and various things, Hubbard County has closer to 20,000 in population. And depending on whether it's winter or summer, that makes a huge difference as well.
How big of a swing is it between those seasons?
Well, it's pretty significant, isn't it, Zach? Don't we know that we can't make a left turn in Park Rapids starting in about mid-June?
Yep. And you mentioned, I mean, we're close to the headwaters, but sort of what else is Park Rapids known for?
Well, Park Rapids has Park Rapids is our county seat, and we have a wonderful award-winning hospital. There are more semi-trucks that come in and out of Park Rapids for our potato plant on a daily basis than you could ever imagine. I believe it's something like 42 trucks a day are coming in and out. And do you know that our potato plant, Lamb Weston, will process enough potatoes for a McDonald's in about a 3-hour period, or McDonald's for a year in about a 3-hour period. There's some amazing statistic.
A single McDonald's restaurant.
Correct.
Okay.
So
for 1 year, it'll take them 3 hours
to process, or that's how many potatoes that they process in a 3-hour time frame.
Yeah.
So whether it is a McDonald's or whatever, there you go. It's some kind of statistic like that. Of course, I'm not an employee. I'm not.
No.
So don't quote me on those numbers.
We're not holding you to it. No.
But it is some amazing number like that.
And they grow the potatoes near here too.
Absolutely. This is a wonderful area for potatoes. So
you served in the city council here from 2009 to 2013. Mm-hmm. So can you just tell us a little bit about how that, like the local city government works and what it consists of and what it entails? Oh, what a good question. Well, our city council is 4 councilmen and a mayor, and that's based on the population of our town. And you know, the council is the overseer and helps with what our taxpayers are dealing with and helps make decisions on the various things that a municipality deals with. And we have our city administrator and then the staff, and they are doing all the work and activity, yet final decisions to many, many things come through the city council. And so that was a super fascinating time because you realize what it entails to run a city. Mm-hmm. It is not just, not just cleaning ribbon cutting the streets and ribbon cutting. Exactly. It is. There's a lot that goes into it. And I so appreciate our small town because they are very diligent at monitoring their numbers, at taking care of the processes that we have to do, and by abiding with all the rules and regulations and
statutes and all of that type of thing. So it is really impressive. And law enforcement as well as the fire departments are part of our city, and we have an awesome, awesome city and staff.
And you mentioned we're also the county seat, so you've kind of got sitting side by side. You've got the Park Rapids City Council, the Park Rapids Police and Fire Department and things like that.
We have the sheriff's office is right here as well as our law enforcement center, and then our county commissioners meet here at the courthouse also.
So getting back to Park Rapids, here's a question.
Okay.
Why is it such an attractive place for visitors?
Oh, isn't that a great question? And as we live here, we sort of sometimes take things for granted. But let me tell you, our community, we have the most amazing resources. So when you drive into our community, you see it is clean, it is beautiful, and no matter what season that you're coming in, there is something visually that is exciting as you are driving into town. And then we have such fun things like our wonderful Legends in Logging. We've got a logging show in the middle of town. We have our wonderful downtown that is so unique, and things like our, the true hallmark moment, the true Norman Rockwell moment is when we do our tree lighting ceremony right smack dab in the middle of town, and everybody's singing Christmas carols. And
that's the day after Thanksgiving.
Day after Thanksgiving. It is a true tradition in the area. So we do lots of fun things to celebrate where we are. In the middle of winter, we've got snowmobile races. We've got ice fishing contests. So we embrace everything outdoors.
Now, it can be cold in the wintertime.
Yes, indeed.
And that can be discouraging to some people.
Well, you know what? I think it's more discouraging is the darkness. Because there are some people who would be out playing 24 hours, whether it's cold or not, but it gets so dark that it's hard to do some of the fun things that we do in the wintertime in the dark.
Well, and we have a lot of seasonal residents here too, because I think, from my understanding, we've got something around like 400 or 500 lakes here or something like that in just in this county alone.
Yes.
So you get a lot of people up here that are living up here in the summertime. There's seasonal residents, cabins, and things like that. I mean, it really is a beautiful place in terms of just like the lakes and the water sports and things like that people can enjoy.
And wonderful clear water and just a lot to do outside. And I want to share something. Can I share something with you? I was just talking to a gal whose family just moved up here within the last year, and she has teenage children. And in the community that they moved from, there was nothing for the kids to do. And there was a sense of you never looked anybody in the eye. And she said, when they got up here, everybody is so nice. And they just had such a tremendous difference, a shift in just the demeanor of the people around, because people would meet your eye and you could have a little conversation. And the kids were so excited that there were so many after school things going on, and that there is truly something beyond just getting into trouble. So she was so tickled with what a difference it makes in this area.
So you kind of leading me into the next question, which is we've talked about visitors, tourists, seasonal residents, but what makes this an attractive place to live for year-round residents?
Well, Zach, I'm so glad you asked that. So for year-round residents, what is nice is that we do have a solid education system here. We do have wonderful, good-paying jobs that both mom and dad or whoever can find. We have a hospital. which is, as I mentioned earlier, an award-winning hospital. We've got manufacturing. We've got various industries around where school is fabulous. So there are a lot of opportunities for couples to come or move back. We're finding a lot of grads who graduated from this area, went off to pursue their vocation, are finding their way back because our quality of place here is so nice.
Mm-hmm. And the Heartland Trail, I think, is also adds to that. Because I follow you on Facebook there, and you've got your hashtag there that says Trail Talk.
Trail Talk.
So what is the Heartland Trail, and what's the Trail Talk all about?
Well, Heartland Trail is a wonderful trail that goes ideally someday it may go all the way to Detroit Lakes and beyond. But right now it goes from Park Rapids to Walker. And there will be a spur going up to Itasca maybe someday. But it's a wonderful bike trail. We have wonderful places for people to recreate in non-motorized ways. So the bike trail for walking, for playing or going along. And for many years, I walked daily on the Heartland Trail. And so I started developing a hashtag Trail Talk, just to share some photographs, to share something unique and interesting about our area in photos. And so I've taken many photos of interesting things that I've run across on the Heartland Trail or any other trails in the area.
And it really is an interesting trail for the reason that I think you stated, which is that there's so many different looks to it throughout the different seasons. You know, you've got the fall colors, you've got in the wintertime, you've got the snowmobiles and the skis and even like the ski joring that can happen out there in the wintertime.
Yes.
What is that all about?
Oh my gosh. If you've never tried it, ski joring or I don't even know how it's pronounced, but that's you out there cross-country skiing with your dog. And you've got a special harness for a dog and a special harness on you, and there's a quick release on it. Let me tell you, that's an important feature because when you add that element of a dog to your cross-country skiing, that's and Zach, think about this. When you're on a treadmill, you set whatever.
Yeah.
You set the
You're in
pace.
Control of how fast it's going.
Right. You set the pace and you know what you want to do. But when you're out skiing and you add a dog to that dynamic, it's like somebody cranked your treadmill up about 20, 30, 40%. And it's super fun and great exercise. And you just need that quick release in case a rabbit or something goes across and that dog decides that didn't want to stay on the trail. So you might want that quick release to unhook you.
Yeah. So you probably have to teach them some different commands and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Just for that.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to try that, but I think I'd need a pretty big and powerful dog in order to pull me like that.
Well, no, they don't pull you. They don't pull you.
They don't pull you.
They're just ahead of you.
Okay.
I mean, because if they have to pull you, they're not that interested in it.
Okay.
But if they're out running and they're in front of you and you are just working to keep up.
Oh, that's the way it is. Okay.
Yes.
So it's just sort of like it's literally cross-country skiing plus having a dog attached to you.
Right. But they are.
It's not like you're mushing them or, it's not like sled dogging.
They're not pulling you on skis.
Okay.
You just have to hustle to keep up.
And you mentioned that the Heartland Trail may someday get up to Itasca. I think that's happening now, isn't it?
Well, the Itasca Spur is a great new trail addition. In fact, now they have completed the tunnel under Highway 71. However, there is no trail to get to that tunnel yet. So we're working on that part. But there is funding to do a lot of that because trails are so important to us up here. Between the ATV trails, the bike trails, walking trails, all the different types of trails.
Now, as far as growth in Park Rapids, do you see the area growing in the next few years, or do you have any prediction on that?
Well, yes, I think our area is going to be growing because we see a lot of people for example, during the pandemic, many people figured out that they could come up and live in this area and still do their job through remote. And so we're seeing more and more people who are using that model for continuing to do their business, but being able to live in an area that's more consistent with their values, more consistent with what is important to them.
Yeah. And that's supported by, we have some pretty good internet companies and stuff like that allow people to do things like that. Because I know when I first moved up here, this is kind of a funny story, but when I moved up here, I came from New York City, actually, as you know. But as I was considering moving into the area, I actually had to call a friend of mine who lived in Bemidji. And I said, well, first of all, like, where's Park Rapids? And he told me where it was. And then I said, well, do they have internet there? And, I mean, now I understand that was a kind of a silly question to ask, but I think some people who are not familiar with the area, I mean, it's a legitimate thing. If I do have to work, am I going to be able to get the reliable service that I need to be able to get on the Zoom calls and my, telephone and email and all that? And so I think we do.
And we do, yes. We have several carriers, and that is super wonderful. And then most of our area, I won't say all of our area, because there's still some parts of the area that are not served as fully as they would like. But, in town and our neighboring areas, we definitely have good internet.
So if you could wave a magic wand and have another, like just another business added to the area, what would you choose? So in other words, like what businesses are still needed here?
Oh, what a good question. Yes, or just this morning, I was having a conversation that we truly need a water park. Not a splash pad, but a water park in the area. And I thought...
With the water slides and all of that?
Yeah. And I thought, oh my gosh, we have all this wonderful water already, so I'm not sure how that would work. But anyway, that was a comment that I heard this morning in a conversation. So
very interesting. So last one on Park Rapids, and it relates back to tourism again, but let's say someone was coming here to visit for one weekend and they had kind of an all-inclusive, all-expenses paid trip to Park Rapids, Friday evening to Sunday evening. What would you have them do?
What time of year?
Summertime.
Oh my gosh. And they're not coming Thursday night? Are you sure they can't get here Thursday night?
No, it's the hypothetical. The facts of the hypothetical are what they are.
Well, I'm going to have them come early so that they can come to our 2nd Street stage concerts because, oh my gosh, every Thursday night we've got music on Main Street. And that is super fun in downtown Park Rapids. And any visit to our area, you have to go to Itasca State Park if you haven't been there. However, there are a number of other great parks and recreation areas around here. So there's LaSalle Park, little known.
I've been
that
there.
is a beautiful place. There is the Tamarack Wildlife Refuge.
Another
That's
good one. Yep.
a nice place. We've got our North Country Trail for those people who love to hike. There's opportunities to go walking anywhere and everywhere. And if they were here in the winter, we've got our soaring and we didn't even talk about golf, did we?
No, we didn't.
There is there are many beautiful golf courses up here. And so
There's at least 4 within 20 miles?
yeah. Probably even more than that. But anyway, beautiful time. And then every weekend in the summer, there is some festival, whether it's a blueberry festival, whether it's Muskie Days, whether it's Legends and Logging. There is something fun going on midsummer in Monaga. There is something fun in our area every single weekend, all summer long.
So you would recommend that someone come and visit any time of year?
Any time of year, because in the winter, we've got a few good things going on as well.
So Sue, you've been an independent sales consultant at Mary Kay for many years. Can you describe what that means and what that entails?
Oh, you bet. So Mary Kay, of course, is skincare and color cosmetics. And do you realize that they were just announced as the number one direct selling brand of skincare and color cosmetics in the world?
I did not know that.
And that's a new thing that just came out, and based on a European marketing research company that looks at international brands and everything. So that's pretty exciting. But Mary Kay has always been personal skincare and color cosmetics, and a person who is a consultant with Mary Kay is simply promoting and sharing and teaching how to use skincare and color cosmetics. And our mission is to enrich women's lives.
How did you learn that trade? How did you learn how to do that?
Oh my goodness, that is what you do when you join. You learn because it's all about teaching and mentoring others. And so anybody who has come before you has been where you are. And so there is always teaching and training throughout that.
So do you believe that a good salesperson could sell anything to anyone, or how much of it is driven by the product itself?
Well, what a good question. And Zach, let me kind of rephrase that, because sales is finding a need and filling it. And that's simply all it is understanding. And so Mary Kay always used to teach us, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So you should use them in that relationship. So you should ask more questions and listen more.
That's very good advice for not just for salespeople, but for everyone. Yeah.
Exactly. It's find what the need is and then help solve the problem.
So a good salesperson is someone who is better at finding that need than say a lesser salesperson?
There's no such thing. We're all in the process of growth and learning.
Okay.
I mean, isn't that what we all are? And so we're either learning or we are going backwards. So it's just when I teach people, the emotional cycle is one of the key things I teach on.
What is that?
So the emotional cycle is something we all go through every day. So the example I use is if I decide to go back to school and I decide I'm going to be a nurse. So I get all excited because I'm going to be a nurse. Oh, this life is going to be so good. So on the emotional cycle, I'm at a high. I'm excited. And so when I start off and make a circle, so a face of a clock, start off at high noon, you're excited because your emotions are on the outside. And then you go to your first class, and you go to your second class, you go to your third class, and you start seeing the volume of stuff you got to read and learn and do.
I'm identifying with this so far.
So how what is your emotions at this time when you see all of this stuff that you have to learn?
You're less enthusiastic.
You might be overwhelmed.
Right.
And so when you're, but what's your skill level?
0.
Exactly. So you're excited and your skill level 0, and then you start seeing all the stuff you got to learn. Your skill isn't any better, but now you're overwhelmed. So the emotional cycle is something we kind of go through all the time, because then the next step is we go to our first class and our professor does not speak English very well. So you start blaming the professor. You say, oh, if I could only understand him, or it wasn't on the test, or it wasn't in it what we were studying. That wasn't what was on the test. So what's your emotion at this point?
Now I'm complaining.
Now you're complaining and you're blaming.
You're
complaining and blaming.
Don't criticize, condemn, or complain. Right? Isn't that the first rule of?
Hang on. Let me finish. So you get there, and that's right about 5 o'clock, and you are blaming everybody for what's going on. And then I always say, what's your skill level?
The same.
Yeah, you haven't learned clearly.
No.
And so that 5 o'clock point is a commitment point, because you either make the decision by saying, well, if Margaret Houlihan could be a nurse, then I have to figure out how to do it. And you start asking yourself a better question. And when you ask yourself the question, what do I need to learn? That is a mental shift in your head that allows you to learn something. And you say, okay, who do I have to talk to? What do I need to learn? And when you start asking those questions, that's when you start seeing some successes. And when you see some successes, your skills improve. And then you start feeling better and better and better. And then you're back up top at your level of excitement because you have made it through the emotional cycle. And that's what happens to every one of us every single day at some level. If you had a new job, you'd go through that emotional cycle. If you're a new parent, you go through that emotional cycle, because at some point that kid is screaming and you're going, oh, I just want to send it back. But you say, if my mother made it through, I know I can. So what do I need to learn?
So it's that insight that you have that you need to kind of,
what do I need to learn?
Be humble and say, what do I have to learn? I like that. Okay, very good. So what would you say would be a good way, if not the best way, to motivate young people to build sustainable businesses?
Super good is setting goals, learning more about yourself and learning how to set a goal. So, for example, 4-H is a wonderful program because it teaches young people how to set a goal, how to put a plan together, how to move forward. And I want to talk about one other thing, and that's the difference between an entrepreneurial household and traditional household. So traditional household, parents get up and both go to work. They're there by 8, they come home at 5, they leave their job at work, and they come home and they exchange their time for a paycheck. Whereas an entrepreneurial household, say, for example, growing up on a farm, there is no such thing as clocking in and clocking out.
No.
Because when you're an entrepreneur, you work till you get the job done, as opposed to you work till the end of your shift. And that is a huge difference in thinking. So successful sales and entrepreneurs think differently.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to say on that.
And they think about goals.
And goal setting is such a big part of it, and visualizing where they want to see themselves.
All right. Well, I only have 2 more questions, and I think you actually answered them, but to some degree. But I'm going to ask it in a more general sense then, in terms of young people.
Okay.
What advice would you give to young people? Such as Caleb.
Well, one of my wonderful mentors, I'm going to quote 2 mentors. One is Linda Tupin, and she says, "You are where you are by the choices you've made, or let others make for you." And so that is an important thing to remember, because you have the opportunity and you have the choices to make to further yourself in business. And the second one, Pamela Waldrop Shaw always says, what entertains you trains you. What entertains you trains you. So what does that mean? So that means that if you are
scrolling through your phone,
if you are spending all your time watching TV or scrolling or on devices or all of that, that is training you. Or are you listening to motivational pieces? Are you listening to great podcasts? Are you listening to something that will help you? Or are you watching crud? Are you watching stuff that is not in your better and higher interest? And so the advice to younger people is really dream big, but then find a way and a mentor and a path and see yourself where you want to be. Another gal that I just spoke with this morning, we were talking about in your older years, two ladies were sharing that when their husbands retired, they totally lost themselves because they were so attached to their position, their job, that they didn't have a sense of who they were themselves. And so you are not your job and you are not your stuff. You need to be creating the you that is the best version of you. And you do that through learning and growing and never stop learning, you know, and having a goal and a desire, and then finding the mentors who can really pour into you and help guide you as you are going through this journey called life.
Yep, I think that's so important to come up with those mentors, and don't be afraid to ask.
Exactly. And there is no right and wrong. It is just a choice, and you'll always have an opportunity to come back and re-choose or course correct, because we're always looking and sorting and sifting as to what we like and what we don't like. And so the more that we can steer towards what we ultimately want and keep that vision clear, the more successful we will be.
Well, thank you, Sue. And if you don't mind, I'm just going to open up my gift here.
Caleb, this one's for you.
And
so welcome.
let's see. Let's do an unboxing here. Yes. Okay. So I hope it's not makeup.
Wow.
And it is a hair and body wash. That's very nice.
There you go.
I mean, I do take showers,
That's
believe
a
it or
good
not.
thing.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So, well, Sue, thank you so much for the gift, and thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us today and sharing about the Park Rapids community. And I hope that you'll be able to come back sometime.
Oh, I would love it. I look forward to hearing and seeing all your other speakers as well.
Good. Well, thank you, Sue Tomte.
Yep.
All right.
Bye-bye.